Faith Radio.
Amen, brother!
Play around with a bad football team, bad things happen.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the midway point of the Land of Opportunity Classic. In the National Football League, they all have played 8 or 9. Thus, the midway point of the Land of Opportunity Classic. The top of the stretch is on the horizon. Some are pushing hard to catch up, and some have settled into stride and are just awaiting the moment the reins are shaken and they are given their respective heads. And they sprint for the finish line. Now, that's not now. That's not right now. The best of the best survive, then thrive. You know, that Sunday after Thanksgiving is where the classiest of the classy ever defined class take off and never look back. Welcome to a TCO Studios Tuesday, and welcome to 9 to noon. Where are the Minnesota Vikings positioned in this 32-team Land of Opportunity Classic? Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. Brett Blakemore is guiding the great ship Love Covenant from FM 100.3, KFAN, and the 651 Carpets Plus Studios. We are at TCO's Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center today with Kevin O'Connell joining the radio show at 11 a.m. The Land of Opportunity Classic has 32 entrants. We're at the midway point where the Minnesota Vikings currently positioned. 18th is the answer. They're 18th in this 32-horse classic. Oof. But what kind of an 18th? What kind of an 18th is this puncher's chance entrant into the Land of Opportunity Classic? Are the Minnesota Vikings doing the moonwalk and losing ground? Are the Minnesota Vikings a quality metaphorical steed poised to pounce? Are the Minnesota Vikings on charging now as a mostly healthy bunch off a victory that may be one of the biggest two shockers this season for all involved in the Land of Opportunity Classic? In fact, I think it is one of the two biggest shockers this season as they approach the Land of Opportunity and ensuing classics are in front of us. Carolina winning at Lambeau as a 13.5-point underdog. Yeah, that was a shocker. Minnesota winning at Detroit from a point spread perspective. One of the biggest two upsets of the season the National Football League has endured to this point. 9-point dogs, and they get the money. We go to DRC, Detroit Racecourse, and Blister, one of the favorites to get to the Land of Opportunity Classic, to actually be involved in that match race known as the Land of Opportunity Classic. That was a sweet little move from the back of the pack by the metaphorical steed with a rider wearing purple and gold colors. Now, the Ravens are 3-5. The Baltimore Ravens are 3-5. And also may be on charging. They may be circumnavigating the field and doing so with giant strides. Emphasis on the word may. Now, Baltimore is a 4-point favorite, 3.5, 4-point favorite at U.S. Bank Stadium Sunday. And yours truly, just the life of the Land of Opportunity Classic, cannot figure out why. I mean, if they're a 1-point favorite, maybe a 1.5 or a 2. All right, let's throw the chips in the air, and Khan will wave his arms like he just doesn't care. A 4-point favorite. Why? The Ravens waxed Miami. Cool. Minnesota has gotten healthy. Minnesota's at home. Baltimore's defense ain't great. Was great against Miami, but again, cool. Minnesota was super impressive with a win at Detroit. I mean, that's one of the favorites to be part of the match race known as the Land of Opportunity Classic. Why in the heck is Baltimore a 4-point favorite in this one? Mad producer, I can't figure out why, and good morning.
Good morning. I wonder...
4 points. That's a lot of points for a road team.
It is, but if we're going down the horse racing angle here, while the Minnesota Vikings looked like Amy's Challenge on Sunday at Ford Field, they looked like Tiger D the week before. So the problem with handicapping the Minnesota Vikings into this game
Brilliant.
Is who are the Vikings? Talking about races. Well, J.J. McCarthy may have just won the Arkansas Derby, but he struggled in other lower-rated tracks
there's no doubt.
Against lower-rated competition.
But I think it's fair to say who are the Baltimore Ravens. So Lamar Jackson comes back, plays a game, they beat crap Miami, and now all of a sudden, poof, I guess everything's just okay, right?
And
it's 3-5 in the Land of Opportunity Classic.
And that's where you handicappers, whether you were pulling hair out or pulling winning tickets in the Breeders' Cup over the weekend.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out, okay, quality stock, Derby contending horse,
no doubt,
in Lamar Jackson-led offense with the Baltimore Ravens. Now with the Minnesota Vikings, what were the expectations into the season versus what they are through 8 games? Now,
it depends on who's setting the morning line for the old Land of Opportunity Classic.
So after Lamar and the Ravens lose to the Chiefs, they have I believe it was it, it's not Mills, was it,
what do you mean?
Former Cowboy quarterback.
Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush,
yeah.
That's right. They get blitzed at home by the Texans 44-10. They lose to the Rams at home. They get the bye. And then I think they moved to Huntley and dropped 30 on the Bears.
Right.
You look at how they produced without Lamar in that spot.
Oh, geez.
So the belief is in some ways that simply by nature of him returning, that means significant uptick, significant increase now on that offense. So our defense, man, whether it was at SoFi, it was against the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. You now look at a Lamar Jackson here. The commonality between them is going to be their ability to get outside of the pocket, buy themselves an extra second, and find those options down the field. And he rolled back onto the field last Thursday and just dropped 4 touchdowns on those awful Dolphins' heads. I think they're appreciating that we are on the health come. They appreciate that the rookie had a stable and productive game, manufacturing 3 touchdowns against the Kitties.
Yeah.
But I think those that make the odds are still weary of what the kid QB can do.
Fair.
And from a defensive standpoint, can the Minnesota Vikings look more like Amy's Challenge or look more like Tiger D when dealing with Lamar and King Henry and all those? I mean, they got 50 tight ends on the freaking team.
Very fair. Very, very fair. Because this is it's having worked in this realm, let's say, for more than half my life.
And that home team money line's looking good.
Well, that's the bit. This is so say we're someplace where you can do things like that and you're talking it out and everything. It's almost like those at the places we're taking wagers. They're basically like, we see Baltimore -4. Yeah, we see Baltimore as a 2-1 favorite on the money line. Yeah, we know the Minnesota Vikings have gotten healthy. Yeah, we know the Minnesota Vikings are at home. Yeah, kitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, kitty. Why don't you get into those C notes or those banana chips if you think it's that easy home? Wah.
How much do you think NFL betting or odds making in general just goes blanket, like right off the top? I mean, it used to be, and they don't do it this way anymore, but like 3 points for home field advantage, right? You might put that into the equation.
Yeah.
How much of it is strictly just the quarterback? I mean, you have you have a guy that's a two-time MVP, probably should have won a third.
That does pretty well in the playoffs, too.
Save for Josh Allen. Yeah, but this ain't January. That's the thing. And
that's a good point.
It's so, you look at Josh Allen besting the Kansas City Chiefs the other night. Chiefs fans can go back home to Kansas City and go, yeah, that's fine. See you in January, and we'll handle you again.
They better be careful with that from 5-4.
But this is a regular season game, and the two-time MVP was an MVP because of what he does in the regular season through 40-plus touchdowns a year ago. I'm curious how much of it is you look, and I'm looking at scores and odds. The Vikings are 3.5-point dogs. How much of that 3.5? Is it half a point? Is it a hook? Is it a full point?
Right.
Where you're just analyzing, okay, I have a track record. I have a lot of races run with this thoroughbred in Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Now I got the kid. Looked pretty good, signs of life, supposed roster that's QB independent, can still be productive in a playoff team as the kid grows. I still don't know what I have in J.J. McCarthy. So just QB to QB, I wonder if that's a 1.5 in this conversation.
Very fair, very fairly laid out. And from a passing standpoint, assuming all constituents for the Minnesota Vikings defensively are healthy into this game like they were last game.
Yeah.
So here's the assumption that we have Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman, and Andrew Van Ginkel all playing together for what would be a third time this year.
Usually looks pretty good when that happens.
Well, they're 2-0 in that situation, and both wins are on the road. And the last win, by the way, was against an individual who is 10 of 10 for my money, a better passer than Lamar Jackson. Can I get a witness?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's lay it out again. Baltimore, a 3.5 or 4-point favorite on the road at U.S. Bank Stadium. Ravens wax Miami. Cool. Beat Miami. People watch the game. They're elite football minds. The Miami Dolphins played that night like they were trying to get the owner and general manager fired. I mean, like, I would never accuse somebody of laying down. Holy cow, I don't even know what I was watching that night. And that includes Tua Tagovailoa. The
Dolphins are quitting, man.
The Dolphins had a little of that Q word to them. So, cool win, Ravens. All right, cool. I think, Minnesota's gotten healthy. Minnesota's at home.
He historically shreds the Dolphins. He has some weird,
Really?
It's not weird, but it's something like 20 touchdowns to just one pick in his career against him.
Stand by for more on that.
Oh, sweet. Depth chart deep dive.
Stand by for more on that in this segment involving the Minnesota Vikings. Oh! So,
thought you were going to do the noise.
Why in the heck is Baltimore a 4-point favorite in this one? It was a super impressive win at Detroit. So here's where I'm going to change your face.
All right.
You ready?
Am I going to hit that home team money line this weekend?
I'm going to change your face and just get you thinking a little bit. We do have the head coach of the Underdogs here at 11 o'clock. So
we won't discuss spreads with him, though.
Not spreads, but individual players, because I'm about ready to mention one.
Ooh.
Do the sharps, those who move lines with massive amounts of money, do the sharps anticipate Darisaw not playing Sunday? Are they playing that game?
Oh.
Like that Josh Allen game of Buffalo, they playing that game?
Oh, my goodness.
Do they anticipate four's too big? I've done this and looked at this a long time. People can believe me or not.
Four's heavy, yeah.
Four's a big number. Baltimore's defense ain't great. Okay. So, are the sharps rolling the symbolic dice, thinking, you're back to that pitch count thing, aren't you?
You're back to that whole thing. He played the whole game. It's clear he's only going to play 10 snaps here.
Yeah, you think you get him three. Is it one of those, you think you get him 3 quarters, and it's really only one?
You're going to sweat him the whole week. He's going to go limited, DNP full, and then he's going to do a workout before the game.
Is it
this?
The
entire coaching staff's going to be there, and then he's going to bow out. What's going to happen?
Is it this? The Minnesota Vikings just dominated a big-time rushing offense, but the sharps don't believe you can do it 2 consecutive times.
Ooh.
Okay, well, what would your context be? Glad you asked, Paul.
Kamani Vidal.
After silencing Saquon. You stymie Saquon.
Oh, my goodness.
You stymie Saquon, Kamani Vidal. He's got Matlock. Okay, so that's what they're looking at. Land of Opportunity Classic as prep races.
That means Justice Hill goes for 85 yards and 2.
There are prep races here. Well, Scott Matlock.
Keaton Mitchell.
No, stop. Kamani Vidal, Scott Matlock, Derrick Henry, Patrick Ricard.
Oh, God.
Okay.
How big is he, by the way?
I can tell you he's he's 300 pounds because there will be a number that comes up with Kevin O'Connell nearing the end of the chat when we get into the Ravens, where I'm like, reigning coach of the year. Let me ask you a question. Does the number 532 do anything for you? Huh? Well, that's the combined weight of Derrick Henry and Patrick Ricard.
Sheesh.
And that's a two-man jumbo package coming right at you this weekend.
You know, I haven't watched a lot of Ravens games, but it feels like Harbaugh has sets where you have Ricard, you have Henry, you have Andrews, you may have Kohler,
there it is,
and likely all on the team.
It's the Kohler bit.
Oh, Kohler.
Yeah. I didn't know who he was until this week, and he's a beef eater.
Man, they got tight ends falling out of their pockets, man. They got this left guard, Voorhees. I think he wears a hockey mask on the field. I mean, these guys are tough.
Voorhees is a 7th round pick. He's their left guard, and he's a beef eater with purpose. The right guard, 4th year Minnesota. All right, and finally, so now you're wondering, at least I am, why are they such a big favorite on the road? Miami. Yeah. I mean, off that Miami. I mean, cool. Okay. All right. Then you get to this. Well, what about Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores? Okay. We have not played Baltimore since 2021 at M&T Bank Stadium.
Is that the overtime bit?
I think it was overtime.
Combine him with a pick or something?
A day Hitman got bit or came up bit morning of the game.
Remember the days of worrying about that? Ugh,
yeah, Hitman came up bit morning of the game, and Bynum got his first start. And he had an interception and a sack. First sack, first pick, Lamar Jackson. That'll go high atop the resume. That was the last time the Vikings played the Ravens. Now, what about Brian Flores, defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings? Well, he's the former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And his Dolphins, now we're talking the Dolphins here, all right? Different offense and defense than the Vikings, but specifically a different offense to protect a defense. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Flores and his Dolphins, Flores calling all the defensive shots in 2019. It's his first year as head coach of the Miami Dolphins. In his very first game as head coach of the Miami Dolphins, it's a home game. Sky Umah. They're all loving the situation, the regime change. He comes from the Belichick tree. First game, lost 59-10 to the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar went 17 of 20 for 325 and 5. Beeflo's quarterbacks were Ryan Fitzpatrick and Josh Rosen. His running backs were Kenyon Drake and something called Mark Walton. His top 2 receivers were Devontae Parker and Preston Wilson. Little different offense to protect the defense this weekend, I'd say.
I suppose.
Little different offense to protect the defense and the Vikings defense this year. From a personnel standpoint, dramatically better.
Yes.
Than his very first game as a defensive play calling head coach for the Miami Dolphins in 2019. It was Lamar Jackson's second year. 17 of 20, 325 and 5. Right out of the gate to start Beeflo's career. Well, that's special.
Welcome to the NFL.
So, little different offense to protect Beeflo's defense this time, we would say.
I wonder how much healthier, because we focus, and we've seen it across the board, other teams dealing with injuries, Chargers most recently, but they got Herbert, and that kind of stabilizes some things. Joe Alt.
Just 1 second. We've passed the 15, which means...
Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's a marathon.
It has to happen.
Well, we're marathoning out of nowhere. Thought we did a 15, maybe a 12. But Steve's Appliances, thank you for the marathon segments 9 to noon. Steve's Appliances with a clearance event taking place and Black Friday beginning before Black Friday. So stop by the 7,000 square foot showroom in Mounds View or do your shopping like the Con did when he needed a washer and dryer.
And I can tell you I'm about to be a customer again because I was on the website yesterday. I need a fridge.
What website is that?
It's stevesappliances.com.
Stevesappliances.com.
Yeah, they're going to be hearing from me soon here. We need a new fridge. We're getting a range. We're getting a dishwasher.
Yep.
The prices are unfreaking believable right now. So the Nords is going to jump in on that for sure.
And for anybody listening right now, you don't have to be part of 9 to noon to get elite savings. Just go to Steve's Appliances in Mounds View, find Sarah or Brian, and say, I am the Con, and I covet a refrigerator. and just save money. So that debut for Flores and his play calling defense against Lamar.
59-10, you said?
Yeah, 59 points, 5 touchdowns.
Okay.
We'll look the other way on that one.
Sure.
What about 2022, the year before Brian Flores got here? Well, what was Brian Flores doing in 2022? Well, he was the right-hand man for Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
With the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he had a big say in the Steelers' defense. What'd they do that year? They split with the Ravens, 1-1, and the Ravens combined for a grand total of 30 points in those two games.
Okay.
Now, Lamar didn't play in one of them, but nevertheless, 30 points in those two games. So let's close the Steve's Appliances Marathon. Steve's Appliances Marathon with these two hyperbolic or hyperaccurates.
Okay.
Hyperbolic or hyperaccurate. The Baltimore Ravens absolutely should be 4-point road favorites at Minnesota Sunday.
Yeah, I think that's hyperbolic.
It's hyperbolic. Yes.
I think they're the one thing is we were talking about our team getting healthier and dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
This Madubuike thing for them, and specifically Kyle Van Noy, earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Massive problems. Madubuike's out for the season, I think, but Van Noy's back. Malachi Starks, they got that rookie safety, I think, is starting to come on a little bit and play better. Like, I just think they're getting healthier.
Okay.
Similarly to where we are.
I see.
But I overall, I pragmatically am with you. I
Four's
think
too much. I can't believe it.
4 points it feels like way too much. I'd even understand if it was just one of those, flipping like Ravens by 1 and a hook or something like that. Ravens,
big deal.
That's not a big deal.
4's a fat number.
4 tells you that this is obviously a much better team on paper, and that even despite being on the road, that they should handle business. That's too much.
Hyperbolic or hyperaccurate? What the Minnesota Vikings did Sunday at Ford Field was a fluke. And a dramatic regression is on the horizon.
Well, that's also hyperbolic.
What do you mean?
Because
not according to Roxy Roxborough and Las Vegas sports consultants and the people who set the lines.
We have finally got to see, after a month and a half, a mostly healthy offensive line, and now even Ryan Kelly apparently is doing some work off to the side, it sounds like, this week. And
Unless the Sharps know there's Darasaw terrorism on the horizon because agents have loose lips.
I mean, I have to be honest. Over the last month, I can't trust until the first offensive drive and I see 71 out there that 71's going to be out there.
And off that comment, we'd like to welcome Kevin O'Connell to the conversation now. Good morning, Coach.
Oh, Coach, sticking to the plan. We appreciate the plan. We trust in the plan. We can't wait for more of the plan.
Yes. Why is your face red? Oh, Dara. Okay. Well, let's talk about the defense.
This is not a fluke. It's hyperbolic to say that it is, and to then also denote that a massive regression would take place.
Thank you.
This is the fork in the road for this team in 2025, where you did it at Ford Field. That's sweet. Now go do it again. So the onus certainly is on the team to replicate this process.
Fair.
And to show up and be very game against Lamar on Sunday.
Fair.
But walking out of it, should you have expected a 9-point dog to go in there and get the win? Maybe not. You should have expected a 9-point dog in this Vikings team to be game to potentially win it. They went ahead and did it. And so it's not a fluke. We're seeing health. We're seeing baby steps by the QB. Very good things to be really excited about.
Yeah.
But now again, fork in road. It's hyperbolic because you're pointing down an obvious point of regression. I just think that the burden is on them to prove it.
Yeah.
And I think
that's fair.
And if they go out and prove, I mean, the Ravens, again,
that's fair.
Defense has been tough. I think they're getting healthier. The run game is unbelievable. You get Kamani Vidal a couple weeks ago, but what you did to Saquon, what you were able to do to Gibbs and Montgomery, that tandem on Sunday.
Right.
Now go do it against King Henry. Now limit those second chance opportunities for Lamar. You go out and prove it this Sunday. I think it'd be, it's the Bears the next week, so the Vikings will be favored at home against the Bears. But you get my point, where I think faces will change maybe nationally in terms of this team. Like, hey, I think the purple are back.
Top of the head, all right, because I meant to look this up and I forgot. Carolina, granted 4-4. Okay, this is a 4-4 team. So
I think they're 5-4 now.
No. Into the Lambeau game.
Yeah.
4-4. So it's not like you're talking about some 1-7 clipping penalty.
Right.
That think Buffalo at U.S. Bank Stadium 2018. 16.5-point favorites. They go and underdogs. They go and win.
Yep.
But 13.5-point dogs on the road never win in the NFL.
No, they do not.
Never, ever, ever. And they did. So that's probably the biggest point spread upset of the season. Vikings winning by 9 at Ford Field against that group. Well, that's one of the bigger shockers that's taken place in the NFL this year.
Agreed.
Can you think of anything else? Like Tennessee hasn't gone anywhere and left shaking hands.
No.
And it's like so
they won one. Maybe a shocker would be when the Titans won that weird game against the Cards.
Yeah, but it's the Cards.
Yeah, kicking it around into the end zone and just weird stuff happening, and Kyler's just a complete L.
Yeah, I think Arizona was a 7-point favorite in that game at home.
So I
see what I'm saying here.
Maybe the Giants, although they were at home,
right?
The Giants beat Philly a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
that was kind of surprising.
Yeah,
at least maybe the manner they did it.
Right.
No, I think these are two of the biggest. Matter of fact, I think Carolina. That's one of the 3 biggest upsets from a point spread standpoint, like the last 2 decades. Sadly, our team was on the losing side of that 2018 with the Bills in town. We were like 17.5-point favorites and lost that game handily.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the most shocking game of the year. The Carolina Panthers week-to-week league, they're a total house of cards, by the way. Whether it's Dalton rolling in there and then Bryce Young doing his thing 3 yards at a time, and Dowdle is coming out of nowhere, resurging his career. Like, just a weird team. Yeah. Packers shouldn't have lost to them.
Right.
But the surprising nature, and maybe that's
plays
why
into it.
You have to be. I mean, you're boldly betting that it was a fluke because of the massive underdog taking that W at Ford Field. The head coach, everything's on us. Vikings didn't do anything. They just showed up and we failed miserably.
Correct.
Vikings did nothing good that entire game. It's completely our fault, and we'll move on and we'll change.
Self-inflicted whistles.
So I think the point spread's too heavy. I don't think it was a fluke.
Yep.
I think the team has to prove that it wasn't a fluke, though, and they're going to have a cool chance to do it against Lamar.
Meanwhile, in a roundabout way, somehow in an opening marathon that involves something called the Land of Opportunity Classic, the Minnesota Vikings currently being an on-charging 18th, injuries, speculation, point spreads, current defensive coordinators and games against Lamar when they were head coaches, and everything in between, which includes hyperbolic or hyperaccurate, somehow the Carolina Panthers were mentioned 13.5 times in this opening segment. So here's the question. Who's producing 9 to noon today back at the 651 Carpets Plus studios?
It is Brett Blakemore. I wanted to apologize to him as well because, Brett is he's a diseased Packers fan. We know that. But I wanted to apologize to him for a text I sent at 3:03 p.m. on Sunday. It was petty, it was petulant, it was unacceptable.
You're one of many.
I texted him, great win for the Pack today.
You did not.
I did.
When you knew they would lose?
Well, right after the field goal. I knew they had lost.
I can't believe you're one of those.
I know.
You never have been one of those. What happened?
Well, it was childish. My dad had been texting me. He's a diseased Packers fan as well. And he had been texting me all afternoon. Hey, look at this, look at this. And then suddenly it got quiet. He still hasn't actually texted me back. So I needed to take it out on somebody. I wasn't going to take it out on my father, so I sent it to Brett.
Oh, geez.
And I apologize for that. It was immature.
Good.
And I learned from it, and I'm going to do better.
Apology accepted, Double B?
Would you believe? Yes, it is. Would you believe that you were probably the 5th worst text I've got when that kick went in the field goal? If that makes you feel any better.
Right, but in knowing a fair amount of your covenant, most of it lacks class, most of it lacks tact. Most of it is of the slovenly variety. Nor does not. Okay, so therefore he needed to apologize because the love covenant does not roll that way.
It weighed on my mind, and I'm sorry, Brett. I'm really sorry.
It's all good. Just football.
All of that, well, I mean, there's more to that, Brett. I mean, let's be honest. Okay, all right, 3-2. TimberTech, timbertech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon? What's on deck 9 to noon does include Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell at 11 o'clock. Kevin O'Connell here at the TCO studios as part of the incomparable, invincible, unbeatable Vikings Entertainment Network, VEN. Yeah, you know we. By the way, we do, it's Tuesday, so we do drop a talk back in for the head coach. Go to the free iHeart audio app and leave a talk back up to 30 seconds for Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell. And Mad Producer will find one. We'll drop it for the head coach at somewhere between 11 and 11:30. State your name, if at all possible, and offer up a question or a comment for the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. That's the Steve's Appliances Marathon to kick off 9 to noon on a TCO PC Tuesday. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. Double B, beloved Brett Blakemore has the cash thing back at the Great Ship Love Covenant. Good morning, Double B.
And good morning. The Fan and 2 men and a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks to the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com. The keyword deposit. Keyword deposit. KFAN.com. Keyword deposit. Bonus Box is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Then our keywords to learn more. Head to KFAN.com. And Bonus Box is presented by 2 men and a junk truck.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. It's time for Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites is brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
Patrick Ricard.
You can shop online. Box of meat shows up at your doorstep. Local Coburn's and Kowalski's locations, your local co-ops. They're proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics. And the cool thing, I mean, regenerative agriculture, they can speak to it better than I can, but this is nutrient-dense beef. I've cooked with it. I've grilled it. I've smoked it. It's delicious. The kids love the dogs and the brats they do, the beef sticks, all that stuff. And they're a Clearwater, Minnesota company. It's really, really good stuff. Thank you, Matt and everybody. Thank you, Minnesota Vikings, for welcoming us into Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center, specifically TCO Studios, for a TCO Tuesday on a special day. Because it's trade deadline day. NFL trade deadline is this afternoon at 3 p.m., and I'm sure you may have a question for the coach, like, hey, just give us a hint, give us a name, KO, can you? Somewhere in this building, and my access in the building is restricted to such that I can't just go knock on Quasey's door, but I imagine the door is closed. I imagine phones are ringing, probably not fax machines, but maybe some text messages. And the Vikings with an opportunity maybe to get better today. I'm curious, because I've been seeing... There was news yesterday, I think it was Asante Samuel Jr. I didn't know this was happening, but I remember around the draft, everyone was like, man, Asante Samuel, he's going to be a free agent. Vikings want to get better at corner. Why not get Asante? Well, apparently in April, Asante Samuel Jr. had like some spinal fusion surgery, and he's just been cleared as of recently to resume football activities. I have no idea what kind of shape he's in. The reason this isn't even Asante Samuel Jr. specific, obviously the Vikings never made a move on him. But with trade deadline approaching and certain positions, the depth of it, maybe the lack thereof, I just wonder if there was a direction that you see. If the Vikings were to make a move, can you consider a position? Maybe it's corner. I think about corner a little bit from a depth standpoint. Maybe there was a position you think the Vikings may target if they were indeed buyers as of today, deadline day.
Couple of things. How did the victory at Ford Field play into trade deadline day, the Tuesday after that Sunday? If you had lost, would that have changed minds? If you had gotten killed, would that have changed minds?
Yeah.
When it comes to certain players? You won, and you look good doing it. How much can you count on the battered and the wounded staying healthy a majority of the rest of the season? I think that probably is on the minds of some individuals. Who's coming back and when? That would entail center Ryan Kelly, as Nordo said last segment during the marathon, that he'll be working on a side field when the team practices. So he's taking baby steps to coming back.
I think Josh Oliver's doing the same thing this week.
And Josh Oliver, too. When it comes to the general manager and this group are not afraid to trade. Now, let's consider players for whom teams trade at this time of the year. So you can go ahead and look at players. There have been a fair amount of trades that took place all the way back to, I think, Cleveland began it by trading Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, Jalen Phillips just was traded from Miami to Philadelphia for a third-round pick.
Yeah.
So that's pretty significant compensation for a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Not high-end elite compensation, not high-end elite player.
Injury issues, but looks like they're going for it.
At least where he was.
Yeah.
So Howie Roseman and the Eagles, they covet pass rush. Trey Hendrickson is a name. Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby are two names that in foolhardy fashion you will hear a lot today. I'm telling you right now, and put it right back in my face tomorrow with the talkbacks if you want. Ain't nobody trading Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby. Players like that don't get traded, okay? Because the teams that have them, they want to keep them because they're linchpins, they're centerpieces for what potentially can make them good. So with the outside of Jalen Phillips, if you look at everybody who's been traded, it's not a lot of quality stock in there. So from a depth standpoint, all right, I can understand that. But if the Vikings don't trade today, I wouldn't be surprised.
Vikes bites. I'm kind of sitting in that spot as well. You kind of triggered something with me there. Is there any element where, though, on the other end of it, if you had players who were potentially underperforming, if you had players who you just needed more out of, let's say you got a lot more out of them on Sunday, you get the win, you look good doing it, but in the same sense, if you're Kwesi, you're wondering, I wonder maybe if a certain defensive lineman or a certain player at this position, man, they balled out. We needed it. We were hoping to get 8 games of that. We finally got some of it. That actually, despite the win and looking good doing it, that actually enhances the potential value of a move being made on deadline day.
Well, the ones on whom everybody wants to pick are Miami, Tennessee, the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, just look at the worst of the worst.
What if Jeffrey Simmons became available?
But see, the thing is like Howie Roseman, all right? Props to the GM for the Eagles. He recognized they need pass rush help, and they do, especially from the edge. He picked on a team that's vulnerable, and he got a pretty good player.
Yeah.
But he had to give up a third. So, I mean, I'm you got to look at the salary. Just the whole thing. There's just so much that goes to it, but into it. But from this standpoint here, okay, into the Lions game this weekend, T.J. Hawkinson had 1 regular season touchdown reception in 19 regular season games. Okay, so like, how did that factor into the equation? Because he makes a pretty penny. Well, Kevin O'Connell's gone, public saying, whether it's the pregame show, which he said right before the Lions game, or press conferences or whatever, we need to get TJ going. We need to get TJ going. Well, they kind of got TJ going a little bit at Ford Field. He scored a touchdown. Jordan Addison, there's another name that I think nationally people would be like, all right, well, he's a high-ender. So there will be a market for Jordan Addison, who also is... I believe he's coming up, a first-round pick, so you can do the 5th-year option bit. But I think he's heading into his 4th year. So he's, you still have technically 2 years left with Jordan if you want those 2 years.
I think next spring is before his 4th year. That's when they would make the decision on the 5th-year option. Right.
So you got all that. All right. Addison. All right. Well, the off the field, sleeping in the car bit, gets suspended 3 games. You trade for Thielen to fill in for 3 games, apparently is what the role was, but during that equation, you gave up a 4th in 2027 and I think a 5th in 2026. You might have gotten back a 6th and the player, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair country compensation right there, by the way, for somebody playing 4 plays. But anyway, we digress. So Addison, he was suspended 3 games. And then he decides to go AWOL in London and gets disciplined for a quarter at Tottenham Hotspur.
Right.
All right. So why I bring that up is because the player's high end, and is the team. If I'm a GM for another team, how frustrated are you with him? What do you want for him? I absolutely ask about Addison if I'm another team, because he's a high end number 2 receiver for a lot of teams around the NFL, including this one. He's a number 1 receiver for some teams in the NFL.
Yes, he is.
Players like that are hard to find. Would the Vikings trade him? Well, with the way things worked out at Ford Field, and the fact this is the Land of Opportunity Classic, and all of a sudden the division is winnable for all four. The division's winnable for all four. Well, I would be frustrated. I'd be upset if they traded Jordan Addison. And I'm not saying that they're going to. In fact, I think there's basically no chance they do. But if they did, I'd be upset, man, because, I mean, Jordan was so good in that Lions game, and he was so good when Justin was down last year. But so those are like some scenarios. If I'm looking at the Vikings thinking, where may they be willing to give up a high ender that can help us? And the fact is that not a lot of high enders are traded at the NFL trading deadline.
Indeed. That's based on the time. That's Vikes Bites. Vikes Bites brought to you by Thousand Hills, lifetime grazed, grass-fed beef.
Patrick
Ricard. I got, you mentioned Thielen. When we get Gessling here, there's just some more little niblets, if you will, that I might want to bring up with you too.
Can't wait. Around the corner, 9 to noon is set to offer up some props. Props to ellipses. Props to these teams, and here's why. And then Ben Gessling covers the Minnesota Vikings for the Star Tribune. He'll join 9 to noon about 15 minutes from now at FM 100.3 KFAN, and good morning.
Are you headed to the Vikings-Ravens game this Sunday? Well, if you are, you can come find our street team on the plaza outside of U.S. Bank Stadium. Ask us how you can enter to win your shot at Papa Murphy's game day meal deals for a year. You can check out KFAN.com, keyword calendar. For all the details, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Ben Gessling, the scribe, courtesy of Standard Heating and Air and standardheating.com, will be joining us within the next 10 minutes. There we will chat NFL and Minnesota Vikings football with @Ben Gessling via the X machine. Meanwhile, props to these guys. All right. First and foremost, props to the Denver Broncos. All right. I mean, this team has won 6 in a row, and I mean, we had 33 points in the fourth quarter against the Giants, I believe, in a home game. So the white horse was galloping around happy, or winning with a whinny, so to speak. But the Broncos at one point were 1-2, and they've won 6 in a row to improve to 7-2.
They had to get the Titans at the wire too, or Texans rather.
There you go. And Kansas City is 5-4. So props to the Denver Broncos for finding a way to win game after game after game after game, no matter how tightly contested they are, no matter if you need to shoot it out at Mile High to score a bunch of points to win, or you go to London and you win about the ugliest game anybody's ever going to see this side of Baltimore or Miami against the New York Jets. So props to the Denver Broncos. They're 7-2. Props to the New England Patriots. They're also 7-2. And the propers are being delivered from yours truly simply because I didn't, like, when I look at teams and say we're into the season, Paul, I don't need to see the schedule, and I know enough about the personnel. Paul, do you see Denver as a 7-2 team? The answer would have been no. 6-3? Okay. 5-4? Okay. 7-2? Well, now as we approach the classy ones, survive then they thrive, beginning that weekend after Thanksgiving. That's when the best teams put the pedal to the metal, take care of December, take care of January, and they get to the Land of Opportunity Classic match race. So, no, I did not see the Denver Broncos at 7-2, so I say props to them. I also did not see the New England Patriots at 7-2.
Yeah.
I didn't see them at 6-3. All right. It's 5-4, 4-5. Okay. Drake May has taken off, and all are being left in the wake of a keen turn of gridiron gospel speed. They're first in the AFC East, and they've already won at Buffalo. Okay, so props to Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots being 7-2. You want to send out props to anybody?
Well, I just, this is kind of at large. I kind of send props to the NFC West. And I mean, the Cards won last night. Yep. I still think Jacoby Brissett is better for Petsing in that offense than Kyler Murray.
I like that.
But they're a 3-5 operation.
Yeah.
But I'm looking, whether it's the Niners, who I just thought the bottom was going to start to fall out with how injured and beaten up and battered the Niners have been. They go and absolutely handle the Giants like they were supposed to. So I'm dead wrong on that. You got to give credit to the Seahawks, and I think it's McDonald, the new head coach, or second year. He's like 11-1 on the road. Like it's a very, very smooth operation they have. Jackson Smith and Jigba and Darnold's there. I think he's got 16 or 17 TDs so far this year. But you're looking at a 6-2 Seahawks team, a 6-3 Niners team, and then a 6-2 Rams team. Mm-hmm. And it seems weird to just to compliment McVay, like, oh, of course, it's McVay and it's Stafford and it's Devontae and it's Puka. But what they're doing defensively to teams right now is really impressive as well.
Yeah.
The NFC West in general,
props.
As we were looking at as talented and as competitive as our own division could be, I think the NFC West deserves a ton of props for what they're doing out there.
And also, and this is low-key fashion, but and it's not forced. I mean, seriously, props to the Chicago Bears. Props to Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
This team's 5-3. And I, from afar, viewing it from afar and reading things about it, I think he's putting together a masterpiece with Caleb Williams. The way he is using or not using this quarterback. Just emphasis on the not using part. But when he needs to use him, it's working. And what I mean is he's not putting him in compromising positions, but when they need to play catch up, and he needs to unfurl some of his choice plays, they're working. So it's starting to come together for a team whose personnel is only going to get better moving forward. So props to the Chicago Bears, man.
Yeah, and you know what I'm going to say, and this is going to be in a loss. I understand that. They lost last night, speaking of the Cardinals. The Cowboys lost. The whole thing's ugly down there. Jerry's weird, and he's cryptically talking about trades that were made, and then it turns out it's just some middle linebacker from the Bengals, and everyone's excited, and everyone hates him again because of the Parsons bit. I have been really impressed with Dak Prescott and how he's handled that offense without CD for a number of weeks, figuring out how to run the ball in totality, by the way, of the season, not just what we saw last night. Defense is hideous. I don't think they're a playoff team. The Eagles will run away with that division, specifically now that Jaden Daniels is going to be on the mend for a long time. Dak Prescott has always been a weird quarterback for me to handicap or to evaluate or to appreciate or not appreciate. And I've spent more time not appreciating him, to be honest. But I just think that Cowboys offense has been really the lone bright spot, the flash of the Dallas Star for a franchise that really is just in full degradation mode as long as Jerry Jones is in charge of making decisions.
And speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, to close, props to the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh.
Props to the Dallas Cowboys for finding a way to score the second most points in the entire league and have a losing record. Ben Gessling, who covers the Vikings for the Strip, joins us next on a TCO PC Tuesday. You're listening to 9 to Noon.